And we are live. Welcome to the YI Social, the first ever YI Social Hangout on air. I am here with a really great group of people to talk about parenting in the social age. With me here today, I have some great guests, and I know one of those guests is also at a mobile conference in another country, and it's 3 a.m. and he's Brian Fanzo. Is that person. Hopefully he'll get a chance to pop in here. If not, I don't know about the technical challenges that he may be having over there. But in the meantime, I want to focus on the guests who are here. I'm going to go a little bit in order here, and I'm just going to ask you all to introduce yourselves. And let's start with you, Christin. If you could just go ahead and tell us a little about yourself, who you are, being a parent, how many kids do you have, and just introduce yourself for all of us.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Christin Kardos. Some of you know me from Twitter. I work in social media. I work with a group called Bailey Digital. And also, I moderate the Social Business Hour chat on Mondays, which is a Twitter chat and live hangout, much like this one, with the amazing Brian Fanzo and Rachel Miller. And for the purposes of this panel, I am the mother of a 16-year-old son and an almost 8-year-old daughter. Is that good?
That is quite good. We've got. Let's continue down the line here and get another introduction going here. Carolyn.
I am Carolyn Portanov. I am the mother of 2 children, a 14-year-old and a new 12-year-old as of yesterday, Alyssa and Nicholas. And I currently do marketing and social media for a small FMO in Durham, here in North Carolina. And for the purpose of this panel, I'm hoping to shed some light on what my two kids do in social media, and they're both very active. So this will be an interesting panel. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. And last and certainly not least, we have Bruce Sallan here, who you may have heard of from.
I think you.
There we go.
There, Chris.
There you go. Hear me now?
Yes, I do.
All right, excellent. We might have a few glitches here or there. This is not the most perfect format, but it's a very fun and interesting format. Bruce, you obviously big dad chat so much. So please tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Bruce Sallan, and as Chris graciously said, I host and moderate, to use Kristen's word, a dad chat, which is probably one of the biggest chats on Twitter. We actually got 2.3 billion impressions last year, which is a pretty decent number, I would say. And people participate often in our chat from literally all over the world. I like to think of myself as a social media renaissance man, or actually a renaissance man, period, because I work in, I think, more forms of new and old media than almost anybody else I know. Most so-called bloggers do 1 or 2 things. I do about 10. I did a live radio show for 4.5 years. I write books. I do speaking. I write a weekly comic strip. I host Dad Chat. I do 4 different blog series for different people, and that get published all over the place. I do a weekly vlog. I did a lot of guest posts for a long time. So I like to think of myself as a jack of all trades. And I do it all basically for fun, because I retired when I was 45, and I'm very, 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 very old now. And I have 2 kids, 2 boys, 21 and 18. I am much more socially media adept than they are. They use it mostly for texting, a little bit of search. My young doesn't even have everything's by text or in person, it seems. And now that I'm an old dad, I like to think of myself as being a little wise, and so I offer a different point of view. So thank you.
Well, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. This is the first in a line of topics that I hope to run through YI Social Hangouts. And one of the exciting things about this is it's a chance to bring some topics in and talk very specifically, which we don't necessarily do on YI Social. If you are listening for the first time and to a YI Social production, so to speak, understand that YI Social is a podcast that focuses on candid conversations with everyone from Average Joe to CEO. Invite you to follow a podcast at YI Social, and I invite you to tweet tonight using the hashtag social parent, and I really hope you'll join the conversation on Twitter. We've got my as I call him, my community ambassador, and I am working with him on some projects in Vincenzo Landino. So, but let's jump into this. We got some great talking points to go through today, and I welcome you to jump around and converse on these topics. Let's first talk about challenges in the social age. And for each of you, we'll start with you, Christin. What are some of the challenges that have been brought to you personally as a parent in this social age?
Well, it's a parallel to challenges that are offline challenges, and it's basically the exposure to components of the outside world, and how, as a parent, you guide your child through making good choices, basically. And to be honest, with my teenager, that's something that we kind of felt our way along with. He got into social media, I'd say, probably about 3 years ago. There have been some missteps, some lessons learned along the way. My younger child is not involved with social media yet, so I'm hoping to have a little bit of something to go on when she gets started. But the challenges are basically the same as what's out there. You know, exposure to people and ideas and behaviors and all of that kind of stuff.
Excellent. And if we want to just continue down the line here, and just, again, I invite you to engage in kind of the conversation on this. So jump on in. Let's continue. Bruce or Carolyn, either one of you, feel free to jump in here.
I'll jump in. You know, my kids are older, they're 21 and 18, so I sort of learned social media simultaneous with them. And I believed in the beginning, I'm a parent blogger, and, you know, so I'm brought in to talk about that. I believed in their youth that any access to the computer had to be public, that they didn't have their own computers, or for that matter, their own televisions in their own rooms until they were much older. But I have one story that I think is very revealing, and to ask what has been the biggest problem in my parenting life in social media. You know, we all talk about putting on caps or limiters or censors on the kids' social media, and I didn't do that. And my younger son was 13, 14. My older son, 3 years older, and I wasn't home one day, and I found out about this by the way. And my younger son had boy buddies that told him about porn. And so he got access and went online and found some porn. And he was watching it, and his older brother heard him crying and came in and found out that his younger brother was watching porn. And he was just horrified by it, and it freaked him out. I think that was the age where I'd already had the talk. So it wasn't like he didn't understand what sex was about. But that was a very sobering thing to hear about after the fact. So I obviously dropped the ball to some degree parenting by allowing that to happen. And that's the thing. I mean, the biggest caution. I think the worry about a pedophile or somebody, kidnapping your kid, I think that's way out of whack. I mean, that's probably less likely to happen than being struck by lightning. Not that we shouldn't be smart, but it's the other stuff like access to porn and not learning social skills, and just being physical and maybe getting to be too attached to social media or all forms of physical, so that that's why we have the problem of obesity we have today. So I think all these issues are they combine to be a big contemporary social problem in affluent places like us.
Thank you for sharing that story. I think that's a really interesting and very insightful kind of look, because I know obviously one of the challenges we do hear about all the time is, well, access to my kids, people know what they're up to, especially with the geo location and the sharing of, I checked in here, whether it be on Facebook or if they're still using Foursquare type services. So I think that's a great comparison. Do you have any experiences or any thoughts on this kind of topic? Carolyn, I'm sorry, I didn't have
Yeah, you're cutting out there. Well, I do, absolutely, and that's the huge thing with parenting in the social age is you want to make sure your children are safe. Now, my daughter Alyssa has 2 Instagram accounts, and we just ran into an issue week before last where she created the second account, and I started following her immediately, and then she blocked me. She didn't want me to know what was going on.
I love it.
She blocked me from her other account too beforehand, but I had a little discussion with her, and I said, I'm sorry, if you're going to be on Instagram, I just want to check in every now and then and see what you're up to. Not that I think you're, taking naked selfies and posting them, but I just want to know what's going on. So we had a little discussion, and she said, fine, I'll unblock you. And I said, well, here's my promise to you. I won't follow you, and I won't like any of your pictures or comment on them. But every now and then I want to just check in and see what you're posting. So her two accounts, one is strictly for art. She's a very talented artist in my humble opinion, and her second account is strictly for personal pictures and memes and things of that nature. So yeah, it's about keeping your kids safe. And she's a 14-year-old. She's going to be starting high school in the fall. So we worry about these things, and we've had the whole sex talk, obviously, and I'm very, very open with my children. I mean, we talk about everything. But it's a concern. Yeah, absolutely.
I think, and Bruce was saying maybe a parenting mistake. I think that happens to all of us. Oh shoot, that happened, and now I've got to get reactive to it. Mm-hmm. But I really feel that there's no way, especially when we're talking about teenagers, it is not actually possible for us to prohibit our children from doing certain things on the internet because. Take my son. He's a STEM kid. He's in science, technology, engineering, and math. Mm-hmm. He has to have his laptop to do his schoolwork. So even when I wanted to take it away, I could take it away when he was within the confines of the house, but he had to have it go to school. And here's the thing. I have visibility on all of his accounts, but I'm no fool. If he has a friend or he has an opportunity to leave my home, then I need to understand and be honest with myself that he has options. So it comes back to a little bit of being vigilant, but also understanding that you're trying to teach them as best you can and know that they're going to go out there and still have the option to do other things. Period.
Absolutely.
Because there's no such thing as 24/7 visibility. There's no such thing.
There's a fine balance, and there's a trust factor there that you have to have with your children. And every child is different, and every parent parents differently. And you just kind of have to feel it out. I mean, it's a learning curve here. It's a growing process for all of us because this is brand new that we're raising children who are walking around on their devices all the time. I mean, constantly. And they see us doing it, so,
Most of them are going to break that trust at some point.
Growing up is to break that trust. I'd like to actually add something to what you both have said. Yeah. One of you, I forgot who said something about trusting your kids. Mm-hmm. And, I think Ronald Reagan is famous for saying, trust but verify. So this goes very much to what Carolyn was saying. If they don't let you have access to everything, they don't get devices, is the bottom line, up to a certain age. I mean, at 15, 16, 17, as Christin said, most of the smart kids are going to figure a way around what you've done. But up to a certain age, you do still have some control. And I think the problem many parents have is they want to be their kid's best friend. That's not your job. No. Your job is to be your kid's best parent. And that means sometimes saying no. That means you want to be on Instagram, darling? You better let me see it once in a while. That's right. Okay? And I think your way of handling it, Carolyn, was brilliant. I'm not interested in liking your friends. I'm not going to comment.
Right.
Okay? Because the moment you do that, then everybody knows mom's watching and they clam up.
That's right. That's right. And I think she's gotten a little mortified too because I've shared some of her artwork on Facebook and she does not use Facebook at all. She has an account that she never touches anymore. And she gets a little embarrassed by it. And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm just proud of your work and I'm trying to share it. And I realized, okay, I'm not the kid anymore. I'm the parent. And if it were roles reversed and my mother was sharing my stuff, I'd be mortified too. So you have to kind of put yourself in that mindset. But that's exactly it. It's just a trust factor, but yet you have to follow up. You have to.
And from a vigilance standpoint, there is a tool called Norton Family, which will allow you to essentially see every single, digital breath that your child takes, everything they receive, whatever. And I have in the past, not to embarrass my son, but I have actually implemented this tool. I didn't like it. I do. There's some things that I think are okay for me not to know. But if you have to put it on lockdown, there is a tool for that. But you still have to understand that they have the option to do things when they're out of your sight. So it's all about the reinforcement throughout and leading up to.
And that, again, I just want to emphasize, the hardest thing for modern parents is this idea of not being their kid's best buddy. And it is, you have to do exactly what Christin said. You have to sometimes say no, sometimes turn it off for them, not give them a choice. This idea that they're entitled to all these goodies. You know, my kids were upset when they couldn't upgrade their phone, you know. Are you kidding me? You have an iPhone and it has to be the next iPhone and you feel upset? You know, it's unbelievable. Let's talk about where I live. The cars.
Okay, well, I can relate to that because I'm a little techie freak here. I love my latest gadgets, so I can understand that.
Oh no!
Sometimes you just want the latest and greatest iPhone. Seriously.
My children are entitled to breathe and eat. That's no.
I'm sorry, Christin, say it again, please.
This entitlement issue, we could probably do a whole other hangout on that.
Oh, we could.
My children know
that
they are entitled to breath and food, essentially.
Let me just add too. I find it really fascinating too because I have, as you all know, a very small child, and he has. I've learned really early on. He's watched me use technology, so he's seen. Oh, Daddy has a tablet. I want to play with the tablet, and he's actually figured out little things to do on the tablet, like how to turn on Netflix, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're not even 2. How are you doing this? So they pick up on it so early, which I think is one of the other challenges because it's not just the challenges of how they're using something, but the fact that they're seeing us with a technological device and picking up, oh, Daddy does this, and we have to challenge ourselves and say, okay, maybe I need to take a step back.
You're right.
That's my big
challenge. They pick up on everything. They're sponges, and they learn very early on. I remember when my daughter started getting on the computer at not even 2, and I would have her sit on my lap, and she'd sit there and, you know, Winnie the Pooh software or whatever it was back in the day. But yeah, I mean, they start earlier and earlier. So
you're right. My daughter, I've said that she's not on social, and she's not, but she just actually learned to use email this week. My husband showed her how to use email, and today she sent him 27 photos of our cat and a series of video clips. So, you know, and so it begins, right?
Weren't they on Instagram? You didn't put them on?
No.
I want to take this and I want to jump into another topic here. And as a note too, Stephen, I did see your question on Twitter, and we'll certainly try to address some of these questions at the end. Vincenzo's kind of keeping an eye on these questions and keep me in the loop, so we are going to do the best we can. Keep those tweets coming, hashtag social parent. So in regards to it, there's challenges, but are there any positives to the technological age and social media and technology? Because what I'll note personally, before I get into all your responses, I've been in love with the fact that the daycare I uses Tadpole, and I get updates about my kid all day long, and their photos, awesome. And there's updates. How was he day? What did he do? And it's amazing. So technology, which on an app on my phone, is telling me what my kid is doing and is keeping me in the loop, and I love it. So what are the positives? And anyone have anything that kind of sticks out for them?
Well, I think the social aspect, just purely that in itself, kids are able to network and make new friends online virtually just as we all have. I think that's huge. Who doesn't need more friends in their life? So I think that's first and foremost. That would be my number one.
Yeah, and we've lived overseas, and we live, you know, far away from a lot of our family. So the social media and digital connection aspect of things has been fantastic for my kids. Not only when we were over there, staying in contact with family and friends, but also now, like my son can talk to friends that he misses that were in Okinawa with us and that kind of thing. So it's really great for the connectivity piece in the same way that it is for adults, you know.
I would add something a little bit different from what the two moms offered, which is I think the biggest thing that social media or the internet and technology, to be a little broader, offers is the ability to research anything and get information anywhere. So I would actually disagree with Carolyn. I think the social friends aspect of it, forgive me, darling, the social media aspects of it They're not learning how to carry on a conversation.
Well,
If
that's
it's
a good
all
point.
texting and acronyms, you know, my son has so many friends, but I don't hear him talking on the phone. You know, when I was a teenager, I was on the phone all hours of the night, and I had to, by the way, get permission to use the one phone we had in the house because we didn't have multiple lines and we didn't have cell phones. And my mother would, you know, say, honey, I have to call a friend. You know, you got to get off the phone. But I had these relationships, you know, boys when I was younger, my boyfriends, and then later on girls. And I actually had to learn how to carry on a conversation. So I worry, that's the negative side, but the positive side is access to everything. I mean, the ability to find out information. I mean, my younger son and I love to watch movies. And every time, or we were watching the Academy Awards the other night, and at least 10 times, God, I wonder how old so-and-so is. And he would tap it in his phone, and boom, oh, Angela Jolie is 41, or whatever it is.
Is she 41?
So, or what was that last movie that so-and-so did? You can find your answers like that. So I think that aspect of technology is awesome. But it is a very double-edged sword. You know, the biggest thing I feel about technology, and this applies a lot to adults, and I'm not sure how it's going to be for our kids as they grow up, is nobody's turning off. Nobody's taking a Sabbath from technology, or not very often. And, you know, one of the things I learned along the way is when we have family dinners, no tech is allowed at the dinner table. Some people have device baskets for their family, or when they have a party or a dinner party. And I think that's exactly right. You know, for an hour and a half or 2 hours that we're having dinner at a party, say, you can turn off your bloody phone. And certainly when our family sits down for a meal, which unfortunately these days is not often enough with everybody to actually all sit down together, especially once your kids get older, the devices can be put away for an hour. It won't kill them.
We have that argument that goes on in our house, I have to say. My daughter will sit down at dinner, and she'll have her phone, and she's like, Mom, I'm just listening to music. I'm like, okay, I understand, but you know what? You could just give it a rest for 20 minutes, and Lord knows my kids eat fast. They eat like I do.
20 minutes sometime.
You know, just put it away for just a few minutes. So.
Well, is there a rule now? Does everyone in your house? Because I'm really interested by this. In your house, some of you have talked to it. Is there a hard rule that you get X hours, or at dinner it goes away? It seems like some of you have that, but is that something that's kind of that you do based on the weekdays versus the weekend? So how do those rules work for each of you?
I'm really quite unscientific about it. Put the phone down during dinner. Although lately, I'll confess, I've set a bad example, and a couple of times my children have, flipped the script on me and been like, "Hello," but I'm unscientific about it. It's like, okay, it's been enough, put it away. Just kind of.
That's pretty much the way I roll too, because I'm co-parenting with my ex-husband, so my kids are 1 week on, 1 week off. And when they're at their dad's house, they don't have access to the internet or Wi-Fi. They have nothing unless it's schoolwork. So when they come back to me, I feel, they want to get online and they want to hang out with their friends and they want to be social mediaing up the yin-yang. And I kind of let them have their Christmas like every week.
So,
within reason. So it's tough. What was that?
Dad doesn't allow them access? Is that why they...
He does not. He does not allow them any access whatsoever, unless it's for schoolwork. Yeah, he parents very, very differently than I do. And, it's culture shock.
Maybe that's why you're not together anymore.
Hey, that's one of the many reasons.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, good now, trust me.
I'm Carolyn, so I've been there, and I'm remarried, so I know what it's like.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. That's interesting.
I know. And Kristen knows. People saw on film. Maybe you saw it on Facebook last night. I spent an hour and a half last night with my ex-husband, and I just bit my tongue, and that's why I was sipping vodka last night.
I actually had a conversation with my wife the other day about just how do we do things, what's our style, what's our strategy, and we definitely try to get on the same page. We were not on the same page with my dog, and I saw how that went. So that was a high priority for me. But I really love this. This is such a fantastic point we're into. I want to talk a little bit about your kids and how they're particularly using social. You've got into this a little bit, but what social networks are you finding your kids are on? I've heard Instagram from a few of you. I'm wondering Snapchat, Facebook. Where are you finding them?
Chris, can I take this one first?
Sure,
Oh,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Bruce.
Go ahead, Kristen.
And the reason I wanted to do that is because I want to interject something. There are grandparents in the social age, and one of them is my mom, whose birthday it is today. Happy birthday, Mom. Anyway, she texted me a contribution to this discussion, and she wanted everybody to know that she thinks it's a positive that grandparents can communicate with their kids on social, and sometimes without involving the parents as middlemen. I'm paraphrasing. So, with that said, I'll now answer your question, which was what networks. My teenager, he started out on Facebook and Twitter, and now he pretty much is never on Facebook and definitely not on Twitter. He's on Tumblr and Snapchat. I've promised him I'll never do Tumblr, and that's like I'm leaving that sacred for him. Snapchat I'm doing, but I don't make him interact with me on there. I let him keep his dance space. So.
For my daughter, she's got the 2 Instagram accounts. She's on Tumblr. She posts a lot of things to DeviantArt, which I wouldn't necessarily say it's a social networking platform, but in a way it is because she is interacting with other artists. And then a defunct Facebook account. And my son, my 12-year-old, he's what does he have? He has an Instagram account, but I don't think he's been on it since the fall. He's just lost interest in it and has maybe 5 followers, so that could be why. But he's a huge YouTuber. And it stems back from when he was, gosh, 8 or 9, and he would take my iPhone and try to video his Lego creations, and then he went into Minecraft, and he and his buddies would create these little videos and upload them to YouTube, and they'd hang out with all their friends and discuss and take pictures. So for him, it's YouTube, and for Alyssa, it really is Instagram for the most part. Tumblr a little bit.
I love the YouTube thing, that learning how to make movies. That's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's out of
my boys are 18 and 20. My boys are 18 and 21. My 21-year-old is a rock and roller, so his use of the internet is largely about SoundCloud, downloading music for free, stealing movies, making music, texting, and a little Facebook. My younger son is a theater guy. He wants to be an actor. So for him, it's just texting. It's also downloading illegal movies. What I mean is downloading movies for free, downloading music for free. I don't think my kids have paid for music in ages. Again, dereliction of parental duty by letting that go. But it's hard to fight that one when it's so ubiquitous that everybody's downloading movies. I mean, sometimes I say to my son, hey, I'd really like to get that Pharrell song, that Happy song, and he'll download it, or I'm using that as an example. Or what's that silly All That Bass song, or I'm That Bass, or whatever that song is.
I like that song.
Sing it loud, sing it proud. You go, boy.
So that's how they use it. They use it to steal stuff, get free stuff, and but they're not as active as I'm on all the time, doing it all the time. They're the ones that tell me to turn it off at times.
Excellent. Are we? I think we're unfreezing here.
Yeah, we're breaking up a little bit there.
All right, I think we're back. It seems like we're back.
We were frozen.
I do have to add Kristen, that.
Well, it appears to be frozen on my end. The miracles of technology.
Bruce, I am hearing you. Is everyone hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing both of you right now.
Okay, great. Hopefully Bruce frees up here then. Kristen, I want to just quick chat with you to say I have seen your interactions with your son. He's very verbal about his...
Imagine that.
So how do you deal with that, and what are the reactions you get when you do engage?
Now, wait, I'm a little confused about what you mean.
Oh, I mean, what kind of reaction do you get when you're just going on a social network that is the same as his? So like Snapchat.
We kind of just let each other. I stay out of his orbit as much as I can. I feel free to talk about him at my leisure. I don't share anything embarrassing, but if I want to say I'm proud of my kid, or I'm going to thump him in the head, or whatever I want to say in general terms, I feel free to do that. And I don't tag him. I don't, I don't suck him in a way that he can't avoid. Snapchat, he will not follow me, and I have access to his the internal parts of his accounts. So I don't need to follow him because I can go in there and look anytime. Although Snapchat, as you know, things evaporate. So that's different. But it's going to go back to my whole theory about I hope I have steered him well, and I've got to keep some faith in him, you know, when it comes to that. So basically, we just we coexist in two different orbits that occasionally bump up into each other. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I think that makes sense. You know, I do want to actually jump into a question that we got from the audience. Is the old rule, hold on, you have to put on me here. So here's the question I have. Is the old rule of paying attention to the person in real life still proper given devices? So what do we think about that question?
Would you repeat it, please?
Sure. That question was, is the old rule of paying attention in person, or IRL, still proper given devices like mobile and you know, tablets and computers? So
well, I'll answer that. I think it's generational. I went for a walk this morning with a friend of mine who was a contemporary, and occasionally I was getting a text, and she just kept on saying, Bruce, that's rude. You can reply later. I don't think the younger generation feels that strong. And I'd like to hear what the moms have to say about it, because they have younger kids.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's true. I think younger generation are more used to the multitasking and less offended by that. I'm not sure if that makes them right. It's just a sign of the times. That's my 2 cents.
No, I'd have to agree completely. Absolutely.
It looks like we have agreements across the board on this one. Thank you for the questions there. We have a bit more we want to cover here. So I want to talk about children, kids, teens, whatever ages we're dealing with, and digital identity, and what do you think your role is, and how have you played that role in helping them craft, if at all, for that matter? I think, Christin, you and I have talked about this on the podcast, but how do we help them craft that digital identity and stress the importance of what that digital or personal brand is?
I think you want to make sure that they're being authentic. I mean, that's first and foremost. I'm just going to jump in with that one right there. You just want to be your true self. I mean, when you're talking social media, you're being completely transparent to an extent. I mean, we don't share everything, obviously. But I think you want to be authentic to yourself. You are who you are. Why not, if you're going to be on social media, just present yourself as who you are. Be true to yourself. Be honest.
Yeah, I've turned into my parents. I'm saying all those things that your parents said. This is going to be on your man. You know, and so I talk about that. It's funny because I never really started talking about the branding and that kind of stuff until, Chris, you and I had the talk on your podcast. But I do try to emphasize that, you know, if it's on the interwebs, it is forever, right, in terms of image and not being too detailed. Uh-oh, did we lose Bruce?
He is frozen time.
I don't get too rigid about it, but in the simplest of terms, I try to indicate that this information is available to others. So think about that, and I preach integrity and ethics every day. So.
Excellent. No, I think that's true. I mean, again, I have a almost 2-year-old, and it's just something that I think about. So I think this is really great information, especially for people who maybe are like me and maybe are going to eventually have a son who gets older and lives in that era, and you know, it's just interesting to get that vibe. I think my own approach is to try and teach him about that importance of the fact that you post something, it's going to be out there, it's not going away, and I'm going to be honest about that. I don't know what the social networks are going to be in 10, 15 years, so I think that poses a great question. Speaking of that, we got a question from the audience that I'd love to read. And before I do that, I want to give a shout out, by the way, to mobile chat. I jump into mobile chat a lot, and I use the time spot that they occupy. So I just want to thank them. I had let them know about it, and I think they deserve a shout out for that. So mobile chat, hey guys, love you. So question, what technology, and this is from Stephen Lambert. Steve, how you doing, buddy? What technologies do you see your kids using personally in education, etc., 5 to 10 years from now? And that's a tough question. I know we're not all fortune tellers here, but what do we think about that one? Anyone want to jump in to start?
I'll go. Fancier laptop, tablet items, and wearable tech.
Yeah, Apple Watch is going to be launched, what, on the 9th? Absolutely wearable tech.
And that will be honed and perfected by that point. So.
Yeah, the downside is those people out there that want to cheat on their spouses, they're going to get caught.
They're so done.
They're so done. I mean, all this wearable tech and stuff and trackability, forget it. You want to go out on your partner, get it.
And
this is a big downside of tech.
But perhaps it will be a good parenting tool. There's always that hope, right? That with the bigger carrot, there's also a bigger stick, or that we have a better way to respond and observe. You know, we can hope, right?
You know, one of the things you gals don't have driving age kids yet, but one of the new tech things that I think is awesome is they have now some kind of video monitoring in which you can see your kid driving the first year or so driving. And you can see everything that they're doing and going on, and I think that's awesome.
Oh, I don't know though. I might have a panic attack. Like, I don't know. I see the advantage, but
yes,
I also
but you know
feel like traumatized.
You have a kid that's no, I'm telling you, you need to have that. When my kids began driving, if that app had been available, I would have gotten it. They've both been in a couple accidents each. They've both gotten tickets each. Do you know what the percentage of 16 and 17-year-old boys that get into an accident is?
I'm sure
Christin, Carolyn?
No, but I'm sure it's staggering.
It's 100%.
Yeah. So, but here's my question though: if you're watching them real time, can you do anything when they're about to go in the ditch?
No. The point is that you know that they're speeding. You know that they're texting and driving. You know, God forbid, that they're drinking and driving.
Yeah, I
powerful
totally.
information to have in your hands.
It is. I don't know. This is probably unpopular, but I have mixed feelings on that. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't want to know that my child is speeding or that he did, God forbid, one of those other things.
I want to say too, this is really interesting because we've talked a lot about what our kids are doing on social throughout this night, obviously with the theme. But there's a really great comment that's going on in the Twitter feed, and it's basically, I feel that social media responsibility needs to be added to school curriculums. What do we think about social responsibility as a piece of the school system, be it public or private? Any thoughts?
I think it's great in theory, but it's about the same concept as, you know, general values being taught at school. I mean, you're fortunate your kids have great teachers and a great, you know, school situation where the values that you had better already be teaching them are being reinforced. But at the end of the day, it's the parent's job. So I see that as something that would be a great target that would often be missed. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's the parent's job. But I think the schools, especially in California, they're teaching crap I don't want them to teach my kids. They're politically correct, and it's a lot of nonsense. Like in elementary school, you know, Jenny has two mommies. I really don't want them sharing that book to second and third graders. I don't want my kids at that age to have to deal with learning about various sexual lifestyles. I think that's crap. And then the bigger problem that you're going to face, again, I'm in the middle of it now, is sending your kids off to college, where basically every value you cherish is undermined by liberal college professors that hate America, hate religion, and hate marriage, and hate everything that resembles anything traditional. So as a parent, this is a nightmare, which is why I have, you know, a couple words for you. Homeschooling in college to start with. For 100 reasons, because the cost of college is a waste of time, and the first 2 years is basically, forgive me for being a little crude, the first 2 years for most boys is about getting drunk and getting laid, and the first 2 years for girls is whatever it is.
Tell it, Bruce. He says it like it is. You say it like it is.
Count on me not to be politically correct.
So much of this for me is back to what you're teaching your kids day in, day out about instilling, you know, some sense of values and ethics and integrity in them, and also self-confidence, because I think that kids who believe in themselves are a lot less susceptible to some of the dangers. Not saying they don't perpetrate and get in trouble. I'm just saying they're less likely to fall into some of the really dangerous things. I think it always just comes back to that.
And again, I'm nowhere I think what's really cool about this whole panel is we've got different age brackets. So for me, again, I look at it.
Again.
I look at it and I say, oh, well, I wonder what it's going to be like, and how is this going to go for me, and what challenges am I going to have, and I think a lot of them will be similar and grown, and again, we've talked about these wearables, and we've talked about the in-school stuff, which what it comes down to, I agree with everybody in the idea of that I want to be the one who teaches them, and that's the opinion I will always have. Not every parent agrees with that, I realize, but it looks like this panel seems to be on that general page. So it's very interesting. Now, I am putting this out to the audience listening. We definitely would love for you to share your opinion, what you want questions-wise. So if there's anything, we're going to continue to talk, but I will try to instill your questions into this. I am wondering now what everyone's been in terms of predictions for the future of kind of social media parenting in the terms of tools that may benefit. Do you think there's anything? Do we see more control? Do we see anything that's going to help us? You talked a little bit about this, Bruce, with the stuff with the cars. Do we see anything that helps us better benefit in the future that maybe will come down the line to help us kind of maybe keep an eye that maybe the kids are really going to hate even more because we already have a little bit of that?
Well, Facebook, if I can jump in here real quick, Facebook just launched that whole suicide prevention or suicide assistance. I mean, there's one tool right there. I don't know how well that's going to be recepted and how well it's going to be used, but there may be more tools in terms of what we're already using in our social network platforms instead of other apps or other platforms, but maybe more tools tweaked in to what we're already using, which can only help.
And it looks like we actually have a question. What do you think our kids will have to deal with in regards to social? It looks, I think, just as I'm not exactly, I want to try and confirm where we're going for with this. I guess with the evolution of social, is that what you're going for with this question? I don't know how you guys want to answer this, but the question actually, like I say, was what do you think our kids... Oh, here it is. I misread it. This is my bad. What do you think our kids will have to deal with in regards to social? So now we're really playing fortune tellers on this one.
Well, I'm going to be long dead, thank God. So I'm not going to really worry about that. With all respect to whoever put that question out, it's impossible to prognosticate or whatever the word is. The future is moving so fast. All I know is whatever will be in the future will be outrageously incredible on many levels. And the social impact and the human impact is the big thing that nobody knows as far as how all this affects us person to person and in relationships and humanity. And so I don't know. I mean, I think it's an interesting question, but read science fiction. Read 1984. Okay, it's how many years ago did the book 1984 come out? And of course, none of those predictions were true. Look at Stanley Kubrick's movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's already 14 years ago. So
don't forget Back to the Future, Bruce. Don't forget Back to the Future.
Well, yes, and of course I know you drive a DeLorean, so
right.
It's really sort of foolish. It's like the saying, you make plans and God laughs. I think that really what our kids are going to be dealing with, who knows. But like Christin said, all we can do as parents, especially during the first 10 to 12 years, is instill some good values, some good critical thinking, so when they hit their teenage years and their brains go to mush, they hopefully will have something in there that might resist the real destructive things that will come their way no matter what we do.
I want to throw something out there. We've talked about challenges, we've talked about a few things, but what for each of you was the most difficult stage to date as a parent? And I'm just really intrigued because we have people with different age children here, so some of you may have dealt with a stage the other hasn't, but what has been the most challenging stage individually? And let's start with you, Bruce.
Well, it's a cliche, but the teenage years are really tough. And one of my sons got very involved in the drug culture, and that was not only scary, it was really hard. I learned a lot, and we got him through it. So the ability that a teenager has to do what they want, to run away, to do something in secret, is so different than your primary age kids under 10. So, you know, there's a cliche, the bigger the kid, the bigger the problem. I just think it's true.
Continuing that question, for you, Carolyn, what would be the biggest challenge, the biggest age in terms of challenge for you?
Well, the Terrible Twos weren't fun, I'll tell you that. Alyssa started at age 1 with Terrible Twos, but we're long past that now. Teenage years, I have to say, because she's only 14, she's only been in this teenage realm for a little over a year now, have actually, knock on wood, been pretty good. I'm blessed with her. Nick, my son, who just turned 12 yesterday, I can see him giving me some issues down the road. He's going to be a typical boy, and I think it'll be challenging in the next year or two. I'm bracing myself for it. So don't get me wrong, he's an awesome kid. I love him to death, but we're already having a lot of, you know, back and forth. So we'll see. You hear it all the time that the teenage years are the toughest. So I'm just entering that realm, so I can't really say anything else other than, you know, we shall see. We'll see how it goes.
Do you think he's going to go on YouTube and see this and say, Mom, seriously, why did you do this?
He's going to kill me. I'll tell you that right now. He's not getting access to this link. He will flip and die. And as it is, half the time he logs in on his account or he logs in on my account. I mean, I went and wrote I think I told you guys this, or I told Jay this, that I went and I wrote a recommendation for the podcast for JVM Chat, and I logged into iTunes, and he had changed my username to Chrome Gunmaster Drug Lord, I don't know, some crazy artillery something or other. I'm like, who is this? This is me, and I'm writing this lengthy paragraph on my phone, writing my recommendation, and I tweeted at Jay. I'm like, okay, apparently I go by this name now, but just know this is me, and it's not my 12-year-old writing this. So, you know, it's all fun. It's all good. We handle it.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, my son will not watch this video. Now, if he was smart, if he had any criminal skills whatsoever, because he's a criminal underachiever, that one. He's not slick and doesn't have any tactics at all. But if he was smart, he would watch this video. But he won't. I guarantee you he won't. He will find it utterly uninteresting and will not be interested enough to go and even look at it.
I will add that I have not reached age 2, but my son's most common word right now is "go away." So
that's my wife's most common word.
My son says "go away," and he says he just started this the other day, saying "Okay Google" out of nowhere, which scared me, but made me happy. I don't know if I'm supposed to be happy or scared by that. So he heard me saying it because I have a Samsung phone. I say, "Okay Google, what's the weather going to be tomorrow?" So now he says, "Okay Google," which, yeah. He
is just adorable, by the way. I mean, the Instagram pictures you post, you just could eat him up. He's so flippin' cute. Just adorable.
I give my wife credit, and actually, I want to take this moment. We have 5-6 minutes left, and I'm taking a look to see if there was any questions to make sure I didn't miss anything. So our audience, and thank you very much for watching. We've had it fluctuate throughout here from 15 to 25 people and people in and out, and I've seen a lot of different people in the chat. But this has been really fun, and I have to give a thank you to my wife, because my wife went and started to put my son to bed before this so I could do this. And YI Social as a whole doesn't exist without her. So a big shout out to my wife. She's amazing. And
you're a wimp, Chris.
Yeah. But thank you to her.
You are such a whipped wimp.
Oh, I think that's nice, and I think she does deserve a shout out. You stop it, Bruce.
I'm kidding.
Is there, it comes down to this. I'm seeing a lot of comments. I want to read some of the comments to you and see if I can get some thoughts. Well, let me actually ask you a question. If you were about to have, say you were about to be a new parent, would you actually go and do something, for example, like create an email for them, knowing the email handles are more and more disappearing? Would you go set up any kind of account in advance? And if so, what one would it be? What kind of accounts? Because obviously maybe social media is not worth it in light of the fact that who knows what it's going to be in 5-10 years.
I wouldn't do that at all. It wouldn't even occur to me. I think it's sort of absurd to even think about doing that. That's like the people that, you know, line up to get into preschool and do interviews to get into some exclusive preschool. It's such bloody nonsense. Plus, it's going to change so much that I would never consider that.
And actually, you know what? I have a question. So I was you're trying to reach your feed to come up with some of these things, and we actually got a question from Linda. How you doing, Linda? Thanks for chiming in. What are some ways social will shape education in the future for the better in schools?
I think that remains to be seen. I mean, it's already being used in schools, and it's already benefiting the children. That just remains to be seen. That's, you know,
I think if they can hone in on the powers for good. For example, all of us here tonight, we are big proponents of Twitter chats. And Twitter chats, as we know, are, you know, a free utility for combining brains and resources, right? So if schools can leverage those same types of, you know, I don't know if you want to call it crowdsourced learning or making connections and sharing resources, I think that's where the money is in terms of schools leveraging social. I don't know how that will work, but that's kind of what I see being the possible positive in that situation.
I would like to add that I think there's a big distinction between social and the internet. They're really, to me, two different things. And I think the internet will offer unfathomable educational opportunities. I write a blog series called Social Media, Social Good. So to tap onto what Christin said, learning and the ability that anybody can make a real difference in the world because of the social media and the internet is incredible. So that power to influence the world with the right campaign, the right thing to support somebody's sick and to raise money, that sort of thing to teach our kids and let them see, I think that's just going to grow. Because in my life, I know the more I give, the more I get back. And my kids are seeing that too. So the kids that get to learn about raising money for a sick schoolmate, they're going to feel wonderful about it, and they may do more and more. And maybe they'll actually do something rare, like make the world a better place.
And I will add that I've seen, and someone mentioned in the chat, I believe I didn't see who it was, but they mentioned the fact that kids are doing Twitter chats in college. I know actually Deirdre Breckenridge, if you don't follow her, fantastic, runs one for her marketing courses at NYU, and it's really cool to see. So that's a way that I have seen Twitter chats. I want to end with this question, so thank everyone for their questions. Jules at Quirky Juice asked, what's the best way, and this is a real positive note to end on, so I really like it. What's the best way for us parents to build each other up? Judgment is strong when it comes to our kids. So talking, it looks like a lot about that kind of support system.
Oh, that's easy. Just come to Dad Chat every week. I mean, seriously, there are parent support groups all over the place. Ours happens to be a great one. But the internet and social allows parents to realize they're not alone. If they have a problem, they can reach out and find a community to help them. If you have a kid with any kind of issue, illness, mental, whatever, ACDC or whatever it is, ADHD, I never get track of it, or autism, any of them, there's a group of parents out there that will help you. That's how social can help all of us. It's wonderful.
Yeah, but as individuals, too, we can do our part by deciding, by making a damn decision to be part of the solution and not the problem. Because when it comes to parenting, people in general are so judgmental. So you can just decide for yourself that you're not going to be that guy, and that even when you encounter, you know, a parenting strategy or a scenario that you don't agree with, because goodness knows it happens to all of us, you can choose to be constructive and choose to try to be positive. I think it really comes down to being part of the solution and not part of the problem, and it's a decision, it's a choice.
Part of building up and not tearing down, and that's a discussion I have with my daughter, and she sees that a lot in school, in middle school right now. so many kids are just tearing down instead of building up. And we want to empower each other. We want to lift each other up and find the good in others and not be tearing down. So, and it goes back to those building blocks of teaching your children the right life lessons and encouraging them and teaching them morals and values and ethics and, empowering one another. What you give out in the universe comes back to you. I mean, karma's karma, right?
And I want to thank everyone. This has really been a great chat. We could go on for hours.
We could. Let's do it.
We know that. But I want to just say thank you to everyone for coming. And before we go, I just want to give everyone a chance. I do this at the end of every YI Social podcast. I'm going to do the same thing here. I want to ask each of you to kind of just what one last thing or two that you'd like to share, whether it be about parenting and where people can connect with you, and any kind of message that you'd like to deliver. So consider this an open mic, which I know can be a dangerous thing in this world, but I'm going to do it. So
have you noticed I haven't sworn once tonight, too? I have made good on my promise. Not one swear word out of this mouth.
So
I said the D word. So.
It's not
I
over
heard
yet.
You.
I'm gonna go in order here. So we're gonna start with Bruce. The mic is yours.
Thank you. Two things. There's no such thing as quality time. There's only quantity time with your kids. That's number one. Kids open up not when you schedule it, but when you are with them a lot. So don't think that you can schedule quality time with the kids. It's bullshit. There, I swore. Number two, be your kid's best parent, not their best friend. And number three, Dad Chat is every Thursday night, 6 p.m. PT, 9 p.m. ET. Come. Moms and dads are welcome. We have equal participation for moms, and it's fun and a great community. And thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you. I will echo that. Bruce, I'm going to also issue a public apology. I have said I'm going to attend Dad Chat for like 2 years. So I would do my damnedest to make it happen, to make it up to you, and to thank you especially for coming on this show. So thank you. I highly recommend it. I've lurked in Dad Chat before, and it is fantastic. So please go check it out. Let's jump over to Carolyn and just give you the microphone for your final thoughts.
And before she starts, I just want to add that everyone but Carolyn has cursed now.
What did I do? Did I just lose you?
No,
I'm losing my audio there. There we go.
You're back.
I'm back. Well, I'm just going to reiterate what I just said before. I really believe in empowering others. And, I mean, we're all quick to say something at times if we're having a bad day or if we're having a bad moment or, we all have our battles. We all have our demons. We all have our fights to fight. But at the end of the day, if you just love and build each other up, how are you not going to benefit from that? That's my motto. And, in social, you can say something and then take it back and delete it, but as we all know, once it's out there, it's out there. It's not really deleted. So I think being mindful of what you're putting out there, being true to yourself, being authentic, and just love. Those are my words of wisdom.
I love it. And last but not least, Christin, mic is yours.
All right, you guys, here's what I think in a nutshell. Don't be scared of the mistakes that you're going to make. Because you will, and don't try to remain calm and try to keep perspective when something goes wrong, because again, it will. It does not mean you're a bad parent. I mean, I've been there with the one major thing that happened that I went, oh my goodness, and I really got upset about it. Don't waste your time on that. Keep pushing forward. Keep being a good example. That's your first duty. A good example. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have to just show this really quick. This adorable dog. Dogs win the internet. I'm sorry. Please continue.
I just got interrupted for an adorable dog. I love you, Bear.
Just getting all kinds of puppy love.
Man, I tell you what. Anybody else? No, I'm just kidding. No, but don't. Try to take everything case by case. Don't let anything be the end of the world. You're going to make mistakes, and your kids are going to make mistakes, and they're going to test boundaries. So when something goes sideways, as it certainly will, just be resilient about it and instill a sense of resilience in your kids, and it's all going to be fine. And as far as where you guys can find me, I'm all about Twitter. So check me out on Twitter, and please see me during Social Business Hour on Mondays at 4 Eastern with Brian Fanzo and Rachel Miller. Thank you, Chris, for having me on.
It's my pleasure. Thank you to everybody. This is not the last time we're going to do this. Hope to bring you more of these in the future on a variety of topics. And I do want to say thank you to everyone who listens to the podcast. If you have not listened to the podcast, and this is news to you that there is a podcast, YI Social, the latest episode is out. Erica Heald is on there, a really fantastic gal from San Francisco. And coming up next week is a good buddy of mine, Ira Haberman, and really excited to have him on from Atomic Reach, and more great people to come. It's exciting times for the podcast. But I want you to sound off, so use the hashtag YISocial, and please tell me the sort of hangouts you'd like to see, what topics you'd like them around, and I will do my best to make it happen. On that note, thank you all again for attending. This is YI Social.